Hi, this is 365801, and this is a reviewing female romance video. I know, who is she? Who is she? Anyone who usually follows me knows that I do reviewing male romance and possibly reviewing LGBTQIA plus YA in this format. So this is the very first time I'm doing a reviewing FF or female or sapphic romance in this format. And that is because it's for a very special reason. It's for a most anticipated book that I have for 2022, and that is A Restless Truth by Freya Marske. Now, the reason this was a most anticipated book was because it is the second book in the last binding series, the first being A Marvellous Light, which I read and reviewed last year. I will put a link to that one. I thoroughly enjoyed it and it made me incredibly excited for the next book in the series. Just like A Marvellous Light, you'll be able to pick up A Restless Truth in a fancy gold lettered edition, which just looks fabulous. Or of course, I think they're doing some Illumicrate ones, special edition ones as well. So you'll be able to pick up that as well. I was very lucky to be able to get both an ebook copy as well as the audiobook version through NetGalley and Tor and MacMillan UK as well. Very excited to be able to have both of those copies so that I could do this read and review. Now, I really wanted to be able to get this done and out before the release date, which I think was the 10th of November for 2022. I hope that is the correct date. If not, it should be available wherever you are soon. I have to point out that just as in the first book, A Marvellous Light, the narrator of this book has done an amazing job. Aysha Kala, who has done the narration for A Restless Truth, just did an absolutely stunning, amazing job. I think without the narration, I might have struggled reading the ebook format. I have a physical copy of A Marvellous Light now. I have an audiobook copy. I have the digital copy, but I have struggled sometimes reading the NetGalley ebook copy just due to the formatting, and so having got the audiobook version, this just made it so much easier to just run through this book really quickly in no time at all. I just sat and listened to it all day non-stop, and that is purely because of the absolutely amazing job of Aysha Kala and of course the beautiful writing. It was just really well done, very professional. All of the different voices were easy to distinguish. I think she did an absolutely stunning job, 10 out of 10. In A Restless Truth, we are following Maud Blythe, who is the younger sister of Robin, who was one of the main characters in A Marvellous Light, and we were introduced to her there. We're also still trying to figure out some more of the mystery behind the different pieces of the contract and the last binding and what it all means. In A Restless Truth, Maud travels from New York back to the UK, and she is accompanying an elderly magician who will have some of the answers for us. Before she can find out what's going on, her companion is murdered, and we have a murder mystery on board a cruise ship traveling across the Atlantic. We might have thieves, we certainly have magicians, and a whole heap of mystery going on. Oh yes, and another magician who is full of both scandal and mystery, and that is the very attractive Violet Debenham. Now, the first pro that I want to talk about for A Restless Truth, just as I did in the first book, A Marvellous Light, is mention how well written this is. Freya Marske just has such an amazing way with words. It feels as though I'm eating a rich dessert. Every single spoonful, every line, every sentence feels like it's being crafted by an artisan, and it's been purely constructed for my enjoyment and delectation. It is wonderful to read, and it's wonderful to hear it being read and narrated, and I just can't wait to read the third book now too. Now, the second pro that I want to talk about is the old characters and the new. Now, of course, we have already met Maud Blythe in A Marvellous Light, and she was kick-ass in that, and I absolutely loved it. So I was really happy to hear that she was one of the main characters in this book. We also get a little bit of Robin and Edwin. We also get a little bit of them from her perspective, which is actually really lovely, and the sweet, tender moments between them that she sees, which I really enjoyed being able to be part of. With Maud, we get introduced to some new characters, and I have to say, I absolutely chuff and loved Elizabeth Navenby. She was a great old lady. I loved her. I thought she was very spunky. Which seems like the wrong thing to say about an old lady, but she was great. We also, of course, get introduced to Violet Debenham, and I found her to be really intriguing and interesting. You knew there was something going on in the background. She definitely has a way of thinking which isn't necessarily the norm for the people around her, which made her feel like she was slightly out of the box as a character, something that was unique and different. And of course, we also got introduced to Ross, or Rossi, and I'm very intrigued to see if we're going to get more of him in the third book, along with Hawthorne, who we got reintroduced to. Now, Hawthorne played a huge part in this book compared to the first one, and was, I hate to say it, but I absolutely loved him in this. Why did I love him? Because I was wanting to hate him from the first book. I was like, why are they talking about Hawthorne? He's such a bastard. And yet, he's kind of a lovable rogue and a gentleman at the same time. I can't help but love Hawthorne. So yes, when it comes to the old characters and the new, I very much enjoyed all of the characters, and the fact that it was quite a larger cast of characters compared to, I think, A Marvellous Light. There was more people to enjoy being around and also try to figure out what all of their motivations were. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the final book in this trilogy, A Power Unbound, will be Hawthorne and Ross's story. Fingers crossed that that happens. Now, you might think that the fact that it's set solely on a ship sailing, which was apparently only 3 days, I was like, what? Surely it's been a week and a half already. No, it was only a short transatlantic cruise ship journey, and yet it was fabulous. It was everything you could imagine due to the historical nature of the setting, but also because it was queer and it's fantasy and it's murder mystery and it's on a cruise ship. I absolutely loved the fact that it didn't feel so stuck and stayed, because they did move around the ship quite a lot, and they had different perspectives from different characters, and so it didn't feel restricted in the way that I thought perhaps it might. It just made me want to go on the ship. It made me want to experience that, sitting and having food and watching the fantastic opera singers and dressing for dinner. All of that just made me feel like, oh, I was there, I could experience it. Along with the wonderful writing, it just became very evocative. Now, the next pro is the fact that it is a mystery. The whole thing is a mystery, but this one is specifically a murder mystery, because we know that one of the characters gets murdered very quickly into the story, and Maud takes it upon herself, like the good general that she is, to try and mobilize her troops and find out who the murderer is. And it's just a lot of adventure. There's a lot of things that happen across the ship, and lots of the different characters play different parts, and there is definitely some shenanigans going on, and it's all in pursuit of the bad guys and who they are. And of course, it does build into the bigger picture of the whole trilogy. So it is something that you can read standalone, but it will help you to understand what's to come as well. So I do think it's time for me to address the elephant in the room that I haven't mentioned yet. And I'm not putting this down as a pro or a con, just because this is my first time doing this as a sapphic romance. It is a sapphic romance. Violet, as I said, was a very interesting character. Maud as well. It was great to see her from a different perspective, a more challenging and independent independently minded Maud who's really trying to come into her own as an adult and try and do more for herself and for the people around her. I did enjoy learning more about Violet and Maud as individual characters, and I liked how they did have a bond and could get together. For me, it did feel like the romance was quite quick, but that's maybe because it's only 3 days, whereas I didn't realize it was only 3 days because it did feel like we dealt a lot with their inner feelings and their interactions with each other. And so I felt like the story was a lot longer than it actually was. The other aspect, I do think I need to mention this, is very personal to me. So please do not think that this is in any way a critique of the book itself. But I am asexual and I do tend to review male romance, BL manga, yaoi, and all that good stuff. And that's generally because uh, I don't feel always the most comfortable when reading stories that involve sexual activities from a female perspective or with a female body in mind. It does make me feel not necessarily uncomfortable, but it does make me feel a little bit meh, kind of neither here nor there. I do think that is very much a personal thing and probably to do with my asexuality. It's probably why I've gravitated so much towards male romance. So in reading this book, I found, and this is not the first sapphic romance I've tried to read or have enjoyed reading. I have read Yuri, which is like sapphic manga, and I have tried to read a few sapphic romances that didn't really pan out so well. So yeah, this has definitely been a learning experience for me personally because it made me realize that it might be a physical expression of sexual desire and action from a female or within a female perspective that makes me feel slightly um, kind of switched off. So there were moments when I was reading this that I was like, oh, okay, it's a sex scene, but I didn't feel neither here nor there, and it kind of made me feel not dead inside, because that seems a bit extreme, but just feel not very much at all. And so that's very personal to me. So I'm kind of grateful that this book gave me the opportunity to learn something about myself a bit more. I have read MF, heterosexual romance, and when there was a sex scene in there, I also felt the exact same thing. So it's not a sapphic thing, it's more of a female body thing. And so that's something to learn about myself. So I'm actually very, very grateful. When it comes to the actual romance between Maud and Violet, I did enjoy seeing their relationship develop. I did feel it was a little bit fast. I also found Maud's naivete a little bit odd, just due to the fact that she has been around Robin and Edwin, and we got to see them through her eyes, and therefore I would have assumed that at a certain point she would have come to that realization by the time that she was the age that she is. But it is historical, and perhaps that naivety is something that existed at that time. So yeah, that's the only issue that I probably had with it. So of course I'm going to rate this pretty highly because it's a series that I'm enjoying. It's a series that I have been looking forward to. It's a book that I am very grateful to have been able to read. It has so many aspects that I enjoy massively, but there were a couple little things about it. The fact that it was set on the ship, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of her in New York or a little bit more of when she came home. It felt slightly rushed at the end, but I'm sure we're going to get that. And I could say the same about A Marvellous Light as well. There was a slight rushness to the ending. The other aspect is, of course, the romance, which, as I've said, there were large portions of it that I just kind of go, oh, okay, they're having sex now. I know I should feel something, but I don't. So other readers will, and I hope you enjoy it because it definitely gets spicy. So if that's what you're into, I hope you enjoy it. It certainly was lovely in certain aspects, like the magic. Ah, that was a lovely moment. The magic. Oh, the magic was lovely. So yeah, I would probably give this a 4, maybe a 4.5 stars. So I'll probably put it a 4 on my Goodreads, but in my head and on my review, I'll probably put 4.5 stars. So yeah, very happy about this book. I am very excited about the final book. I really, really hope it's Hawthorne and Ross's story, if not just Hawthorne's story, because he has been built up to be someone who certainly has a mysterious past, and I have questions, and I hope those questions are answered. It was lovely to have a little bit of Robin and Edwin at the end, and I definitely am enjoying this queer historical fantasy murder mystery with magic and all of these fantastic characters. So yeah, thank you to Freya Marske for writing this. It's very, very nice. I think, as I said, it's probably out 10th of November, so go and check it out if you can by Tor. And if you're going for the Audible version, it is MacMillan UK, and Aysha Kala was the narrator. So yeah, I'm 365801. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it useful or entertaining. And of course, I usually do reviews on male romance, BL manga, yaoi, and all that good stuff. So yeah, take care everyone. I will see you in the next video. Bye.